Okay, very good. Welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Wednesday, June 26, 2024. May I ask you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That may have been the fastest we've done the pledge. Thank you all very much. This is the second meeting of the month. We have, as we normally do, committee and department reports. We're going to have a lot of discussion tonight. I don't know necessarily how many actions we'll be taking. It all depends on how some of those discussions go, obviously. We don't really have too much in the way of announcements in the middle of the summer. But we did get some correspondence at the end of our packet we'll be going over. So for the folks at home, would you be kind enough to pan over the camera, if you would, please, to the screen? I'll blow up. I'll attempt to blow up the screen. There we go. Discussion of speed limits. Okay, so we received notice, finally, from the state of the approval that we heard verbally back in the fall to lower the speed limits in the College Park and Forest Park neighborhoods. And so we now want to continue those efforts to lower, where appropriate, speed limits on our town roads. To backtrack for the folks at home, what we've been doing is lobbying Albany to try and get home rule. We have had some success in that we have convinced them that it's appropriate in some cases to lower town speed limits to 25 miles an hour. We didn't have that authority until about a year and change ago. The lowest we could take it down to was 30. All of this, of course, with the DOT approval. We're not allowed to set our own speed limits. So we're now going to take a look at an approach on how we might continue that work throughout the municipality. We have finally, I think, a settlement agreement with Columbia Utilities, in the third round of our community choice aggregation. That was at the time period where energy prices were very low, and then the pandemic and the resulting spike in energy prices put stress on many utility providers or energy suppliers, and so those that had extensive contracts and that were not properly hedged, and we believe that may have been the case here, were not able to fulfill their obligations and to have the required collateral under NYSEG. And so we've got a settlement. These are the 10 municipalities. We're now in round 4, by the way, for folks of the community choice aggregation. I almost said aggravation, but for that round it was afterwards. Shared service agreement, we are discussing with the town of Rhinebeck potentially to share their kennel and even services, dog control services as well. CFA grants, just any more discussion. If you all have some more thoughts, I want to share with you some thoughts we've had with the meeting with our engineer, and then department board and committee reports and some correspondence. So I'm expecting a fairly brief meeting tonight. Then we did have attorney-client session we'll entertain a motion on. Okay, as I mentioned, we received formal notification from DOT. It goes through an extensive process. We've conducted traffic studies for this, and we're very pleased and thankful also, by the way, to the crew at the highway department who quickly changed out those signs that we've had now for how many months? 7, 8 months, something like that. A long time. Anyway, so I know the folks in Forest Park and College Park are happy to see those results. That's the good news. The bad news is, here's how many town roads we have. 19. So, and over here on the bottom right, you'll see these are the county and the state roads. Obviously, we're just talking about the town roads. Some of these roads are now taken care of because they were part of College Park and Forest Park. So I had a conversation with our engineers about a strategy, because obviously we don't want to have separate applications for all the various roads. But his thought was that we should try to group them by classification. So have the residential subdivision roads, much like the College Park and the Forest Park, and group those together. Have one application, but group those and say for those, we believe that 25 miles an hour is appropriate. We're going to study that. We'll do samples through that group, because they didn't study every road in Forest Park and College Park, but they did do some examples. And then you would have collector roads and so on and so forth, the various classifications, and then maybe come up with a proposal for what the speed limits should be on that classification. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to get a reduction on all of these roads. People will, of course, want that in most cases if they are living it. But we can do our best and try and improve them. So that's sort of his recommendation, Christine, just to review on the, we got the formal notice from DOT on the College Park and the Forest Park, as you know, to go down to 25 miles an hour.
Yep.
And as we approach now and tackle the other ones, and we've heard from folks on many of these roads that they would like the speed limits to be slowed. The engineers recommend that we group them by classification. So we take a look at, for example, the residential roadways, the Linden Acres, so on and so forth, and group them together and do traffic studies on sampling of that group, and then take minor collector roads, major collector roads, and come up with recommendations for what those speed limits should be.
Okay.
And approach it that way, submit one application, and see obviously what the science tells us when we do those speed studies.
So study all of the different classifications simultaneously and put one application in front.
Yeah.
So for classifications.
I mean, we may end up with some roads that we don't put in the application because it doesn't come back as supporting a reduction, which of course, we're gonna have some of our residents won't be happy about that, but, you know, the engineering is gonna be dictating this
Right.
because we don't have the ability to give them what they want, which is to just lower them all to 25. We don't have that authority. Yeah.
So in classifications would say a road like James Court or Laurel Lane, which is a dead-end
Mhm.
cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
that would be a classification, a dead-end road, okay.
Yeah, so it would be a residential.
Because that's what I was looking
low
at,
volume
and some of
park.
them, you know, I mean, you can't even get up to 35 miles an hour before
Well,
you
you
get
can
in
with
the
the electric cars.
Oh,
We're
that's
talking
true.
about that. Yeah.
But there are some where it just seems
Yeah.
odd that it's 35 miles an hour.
Yeah. So that's the approach. I mean, I think it'll probably take us at least one more, probably two more meetings to come up with like a proposal. He's gonna work on it, take a look at the roads and maybe give us the categories, and we'll try to come up with a draft for everyone to look at. Now, for the folks at home, if you're watching this is an effort that will start in 2024, but I can tell you that it took so long to get the approvals and obviously the formal notice that, you know, please don't expect anything substantive, or certainly the changes to happen until 2025. But the sooner we get going with this, building upon our successes, the better. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, that's right, I was gonna say, I think it makes a lot of sense,
Okay.
you know, and I think in the long run, it'll save time and probably money.
Yeah. And then obviously we'll need to get a task order from the engineer, you know, what's an appropriate sampling of these, a few from each category and so on and so forth, so. But as the list shows, before you subtract those roads that have already been reduced, there are 119 town roads. Included one map just so you get some sense of. Interesting, DOT refers to the gray area here as urbanized.
They consider
We don't-
country.
We don't know how they define that.
I don't know.
Wonder if it's number of cars in the road.
Yeah, I don't know. But some of these are clearly low volume roads within that.
Yeah.
So do you need some kind of an action on this, or are we just moving forward?
Or would we have to-
Well, we don't need an action. We thought we would put something together for you all to see, but I just wanted to, you know, see if that sounds good to you, and we'll, you know, to classify them and group them, and, okay. Obviously, we'll be getting a lot of input from the engineer on this. Okay. Good. Well, that was easy enough. Speed limits, it just would be a lot easier, Albany, if you gave us the authority to set our own speed limits.
We're getting like halfway there, right?
We're getting there. We're getting there,
Made some
but,
changes now.
well, we're making it happen. I mean, 9G, we had sections there, lower, so. Okay, moving right along. Number 2, resolution to approve settlement. So I think I started mentioning this to you, and so we have 10 municipalities, part of the agreement. We do have a resolution, by the way. The settlement is for approximately, by the time the legal costs are deducted and so on and so forth, we're looking at a little over $1 million as a part of the settlement. And what will happen is those that were members of the CCA at the time would get their proportional share of that. It's a rather extensive settlement agreement and release, as I'm sure you've read.
And as part of the settlement, we don't have to do that for the folks in our town. That's
We do not.
taken care of, right?
Yeah, somebody else will be administering that.
Right.
And they will, even if there was somebody who, for example, sold their house, they will endeavor to try to, you know, locate them and send them. You know, we're not talking about huge bucks here, but just know that they will endeavor to get it to everyone who's entitled to receive it. I know it's a lengthy document. Do you have any questions about it?
No, I read it earlier.
Okay.
Very extensive. They cover everything.
It is. We have a resolution number
61.
61, authorizing the settlement agreement regarding Town of Saugerties et al. Versus Columbia Utilities Power LLC. And the whereas is it talks about the agreement which was entered into April of '21. The following April, Columbia notified the Public Service Commission that it intended to transfer these customers to Central Hudson. On June 3rd, the town of Redmond, together with other municipalities and Jewel, and some individual plaintiffs, filed a complaint against Columbia in the state Supreme Court, seeking relief. The New York State Public Service Commission intervened in the action on behalf of us, the plaintiff parties, and the parties engaged in extensive discovery as part of the litigation. The plaintiff parties, PSC, Columbia, and Central Hudson, participated in mediation. And as a result of the mediation, there were discussions relating to settlement of all claims and causes of action. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows. We, settlement of this action is hereby authorized and approved. Supervisor or deputy supervisor is authorized to execute the agreement in the form attached hereto. Supervisor, town clerk, and town's other officers are hereby authorized and directed to do all the rest. The resolution shall take effect immediately. One thing I want to say in regards to immediately is that these settlement funds will not be immediate. They will be likely at the beginning of 2025. So don't expect a check in the mail just yet, but if you were a member at the time, you will receive some funds. Don't expect a big payday. Don't buy anything on either way. This is a small amount of money. Okay. Who would like to move? It's a legal thing. Who would like to move a proposed settlement resolution 61?
So moved.
Former law enforcement officer, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor? Jacob?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. Okay, resolution 61, unanimous. Okay, a proposed shared service agreement with town of Rhinebeck Kennel. So for background, Bill, do you want to remind the folks at home why we're sort of in this predicament to begin with, and then maybe a little update as far as news? Didn't we hear that DSPCA was getting some money?
Yeah, so we have been using Dutchess County SBCA for I'm not sure how many years.
Good question.
It's probably 6 or 7 years. And they provided our dog and animal control services. We paid them an annual fee, and they handled everything. They had dog control officers, they have kennel, they had a contract with the vet. So it was really sort of it was one-stop shopping. They notified us in April that they were going to discontinue us and everybody else here in Northern Dutchess, they were just basically discontinuing the service for many, many municipalities. And when I had a chat with them, what they said was, well, you know, you pay a lot of money and you don't get very much services, and we would recommend that you do something. And that's pretty much what they've told the other municipalities. So we've been, I've spoken to adjacent counties to see what they do, try to find a suitable replacement. And so we've been in discussions with Rhinebeck, and we're talking about doing a shared services. I think it would be 3 or 4 different municipalities up here that are all together.
I think it's just going to be the two of us.
Oh, it's just going to be the 2 of us?
I think
Because
so.
originally there was Clinton.
There was some talk up
There was some
there.
talk of Clinton and Milan.
Yeah.
And Rhinebeck has its own kennel. And because they're infrequent activities, you know, they don't have a lot, but that's the discussion, is utilizing them and having a shared services agreement. But as we were getting closer to reviewing the intermunicipal agreement, we get a notice that Michelle Hinchy, our state senator, had a press conference to say that the Dutchess County SPCA was awarded a $250,000 grant to build a new kennel, which I find curious.
But that doesn't change whether they could provide this service for us.
Or whether they want to.
Or whether they want to. I think that's really what it comes
Well,
down
is this
to.
another staffing issue? Is this what?
They have had, their primary staffing problem is with dog control officers. And they've had some turnover in some of the other administrative positions, but that's the tough one for them.
Okay.
It's sort of a quasi-law enforcement position. Some of the people are police officers. in, say, Fishkill or other, some other municipality, and they do it as a part-time job. Some people are trained in peace officers as dog control officers, but they seem to roll over quickly. And as the liaison to them in 5 years, I've probably met 4 or 5 different ones, and then periods of time when they didn't have one. So, and they themselves were, scrambling to try to find a DCO. So, I'm curious to see how that plays out, but in the meantime, under state law, we are required to have some service, either by having our own employee or by contracting out. And so that's the nature of...
Looking at your analogy, you were like, roll over. I thought you were doing a
A
dog,
dog.
a dog pun there.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And it's important that we get it done.
All right, and first of all, many thanks to our colleague in the town of Rhinebeck, Elizabeth Spenzi. We appreciate her wanting to entertain and to share with us. As folks know, we share a dog park, don't we? Right
Yes.
there on the border. So it, in some respects, makes sense that we share some kennel facility, which they have much closer than DSPCA. It's on 308.
Yeah, it's right in their garage,
Highway.
in the highway garage. So, and the main thing is, I think, for the public, in every instance that there's been an issue of a dangerous dog or a dog running loose, we always recommend you call 911. Our village police department here are always the first responders and always have been the first responders. And I think the issue is more about if there's a dog that has to be kenneled, like we can't identify who the owner is, or it bit somebody, or something happened, you need a place to
host the dog.
to host a dog. And also, if a dog bites somebody, I think there's a quarantine period until you determine whether they've been vaccinated for rabies and it's current. So that's the bigger hurdle, is the hosting. I've been less concerned about a response because the village police department's very good about getting there quickly.
Yes.
And they're very dog friendly, and they have done it long before us were on this board. They actually did it for a period of time.
Yeah.
So they know, they understand how to do it.
So what we have is a draft, a first draft. Obviously, Rhinebeck will need to take a good look at it and see any changes. But one of the things that, did we cover costs?
Well, we
have some nice
covered-
language there that once we
Yeah.
figure out what the costs are. I think they mentioned that they would probably want us, so we have the kennel use is $50 a day. I mean, that seems a little high, but.
That's actually about what these.
Is that what it goes
Yeah,
for?
I think the
Okay.
fees that are in our resolution came from our DSPCA
So
contract.
it's the same?
It's
Okay.
the same, that's the kenneling fees.
Okay.
And an extra $20 a day
If it's,
for
If
any
we
day
don't
that we
have-
don't have a
Yeah.
control officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
And I will say, I was just wanted a point of clarification. So, 2A on the back of the page. So 2A talks about, the fees and how they're getting paid and all that. I'm just confused because it does say at the top of the back of the page, it says for dogs that are reclaimed by their owner,
Yeah.
the owner will be required to pay the boarding fee to town clerk prior to picking up the dog.
right.
So, do they pay the town clerk? Does everybody pay the town clerk in Rhinebeck? Are you paying the town clerk in where you live? Because if Rhinebeck's billing us, then are they supposed to pay
I
Rhinebeck?
think they should pay the municipality,
Well, it's not clear.
it's not clear.
So that was,
Clerk it is.
Yeah,
I'd like to just discuss that a little bit. I think that's something that has to be discussed with Rhinebeck.
exactly.
But in the case of SPCA, because they were both holding the dogs and acting as DCO, they collected the fees.
That's right.
But in this case, it's not so clear what should happen. And what I would say is that the clerks are responsible in each municipality for their licensing. And so whoever's picking these dogs up is going to have to be in touch with our clerk. If the dog is in Red Hook, and I think our clerk probably needs to know what's going on. So whether you say that somebody's supposed to pay the Rhinebeck clerk to get their dog, I think it just needs to be really clear. Everybody needs to understand if there's a redemption, where do they go to do it, right? Do they go to their own town, or are they supposed to go to Rhinebeck, and how are they supposed to know that?
Well, that was my point.
Well, from a logistical standpoint, I don't see how it makes sense to come to the town of Red Hook, because then you're gonna have communication problems, you know.
Well, how do you know where your dog is? You don't know where your dog is.
Well, if the dog is,
Well, no, that I understand, but as far as the release, so Rhinebeck's gonna be calling Red Hook to say, did they pay, did they not pay? Was the check good? You know, I think.
Well, they're still gonna have to call Red Hook because the dog has to be licensed. So the dog has to be licensed in Red Hook before they're released.
and if it's not,
Rhinebeck, you know, unless we're gonna
Sure,
do
sure.
an IMA about licensing,
Sure.
which may be
No,
complex
no,
because of
no.
the payments.
No, we're not doing, no, not licensing.
Okay, but what I'm saying is.
But
so that
release
they're
of
gonna
the
have to
dog.
get a Clerk, I understand, but they
Yeah.
have to make sure the dog is licensed
Yeah,
before
yeah.
they're released.
so you're still gonna have to call here anyway to
Anyway.
determine
This is
that.
what I'm saying, right?
And this does talk about the fee being paid before the dog is picked up.
Yes,
So if Rhinebeck is collecting the fees, it might make sense for whoever's picking up the dog to be in contact with their town clerk for the payments. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense for them to come.
Well, anyway, the point is we
here.
have to
Yeah. We'll just-
work that part out.
Well,
yeah.
That's all
Honestly,
I was trying to say.
whatever works for Rhinebeck, I think would probably be best, right? I mean, if they're the ones who have to, you know, it's their facility. So I want them to, I don't wanna create a situation where there'll be friction. However they're comfortable with it, but yeah. Let's find out how they wanna do it. and then see
the
if
only
that
thing
works.
also that's not in this IMA is, I think.
The maintenance cost?
The maintenance fee, and they're looking for between $600 and $900 a year. So, the middle of that, $750.
For the maintenance, the kind of.
For the maintenance of the kennel.
What does she want to give us for the maintenance at the dog park?
I'll let you have that
You weren't
conversation.
expecting that
You
one,
can have
were
that.
you?
No,
I'll have that discussion.
it's
with
supervisor
her.
to supervisor.
Yeah. No,
We
but
also
that's
have to get the
fair.
pickup
But that's
fees.
fair. No, I think her request is
It's
fair.
fair. I think
Overall, I was really pleased to see this. I know that a few meetings ago, we were feeling a bit in a bind about this issue, and I think this is a good solution.
You know, the credit goes to Supervisor Cynthia on this one, for sure, for stepping up. I mean, we did ask, but I mean, she was like, absolutely. So, very much appreciate that. So, yeah, I'd like to propose that, you know, we go ahead and approve this and it's, you know, substantially, as long as it's substantially in the form that it's being proposed in front of us now, so that they can take it up at their next meeting.
Well, can we change the resolution to say that it's approved with, once the language clarifying Section 2A and Section 2C is completed? Those are some blanks in 2C.
Well, that's the cost.
Well, that's what they're going to help determine, because there are costs associated. Yeah.
That's the DCO cost, yeah.
Subject to approval by Town of Rhinebeck, including, is that what you'd like? Section blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, with clarification about, the
Okay.
payment, or how the payments will be handled in Section 2A.
Okay.
And then maybe you want these answered first? In 2C?
No, because I think we're gonna have to figure that out, because if we do a shared DCO, we need to know what those fees are. And I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, because the other thing about that is that Rhinebeck had a DCO that was a full-time employee, I think it was on an annual contract, he passed away in March. They had a backup who was a deputy who was performing their services, but I'm not sure whether that's on a per day, I'm not sure how that's
Right.
reimbursed.
So we're gonna have to figure that out,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to take the lead on that as well,
Yeah.
I think, unless we come to a shared DCO agreement.
We'll just have to pay a portion.
I just don't know how we prove the blanks.
Well, as long as it's substantially, and, yeah, TBD.
TBD.
Well, that's what I'm
TBDs.
saying, so we have to put that in the
Let's
resolution.
put
Well-
TBDs on that.
It does say, like, you can make changes right now based on the resolution, but if it's significant changes, it has to come back before the board.
Exactly, that's why.
So it's written that way now.
Yeah. Well, let's put TBDs in there, okay? All right. This is resolution number 62. I'm still chuckling at rollover. I couldn't help laughing. Stop laughing at that.
I wish I could take credit for saying that was premeditated.
Yeah, well.
When the blanks.
Any more comments? Christine, would that work for you? The TBDs for now, and then we'll see if it's substantial. We may have a couple back and
Everybody
forth
else
on
comfortable
this.
with it, then, okay.
All right. Jacob? Good to go. Julia?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. With gratitude to Town of Rhinebeck, I move resolution 62. Is there a second? Mr. Dog Control Liaison, thank you. All in favor, Julia?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right. Grant away. So, we've been talking a lot about for sewer extension. So to remind folks, we have both a member item request for $1 million towards the sewer extension with Senator Gillibrand's office. That goes in front of the full Senate. Actually, we'll get some indication maybe in the next several weeks. We've submitted our intermunicipal grant through the EFC, excuse me, for roughly $2.5 million. We had some follow-up sort of questions, forms, or whatever, but we'll see how that goes. Couple more opportunities we may have identified for applying for that. So I think I mentioned in the first meeting of July, we'll be talking about approving applications. And I wondered, did you have any that you saw in this list for non-sewer related? You know, we talked about W-Quick, that's the water quality improvement for the brining equipment. A couple of things have come up since then. So one of the things I heard from the mayor and from the village clerk was, hey, you might want to consider a larger water service line if you take a look at that and see whether or not you have adequate, because you have to make the brew, if you will. I think you have to do it, fairly quickly. So that's something we need to take a look at, probably rather quickly, because if we want to include that in the application. And then I think our foreman had one other piece that he thought maybe we were missing, nothing huge, but from the proposal that was submitted. So that's keep thinking about that, whether or not we want to go that route with W-Quick. We have not had success for salt shed replacement.
What about the tributary culvert grant? We've gotten one before, right? Have we used that up, or can we apply again? Because there's additional culverts.
Yeah, you can apply again, but
That was done, I think.
what's that?
So I think the deadline passed on that.
Oh, it did?
On the estuary culvert?
Yeah, it
It's
was
called the
last
tributary.
I think it was June 25th.
21st.
21st, right?
Yeah. I don't think we should apply now because we literally haven't
Done the other
we
one.
haven't done that project because, by the time you get awarded, you go to the contract phase, and that's in the design. So we're gonna get the design done by the engineers in the next year, and so we'll go out for construction funding. It's conceivable we could apply for construction funding through some other mechanisms.
I had a question. I know that at some point the CAC was discussing whether to do a natural resources inventory, which could fall under the local stewardship planning grants. I don't know where they're at in that.
So Bill Allen's been working on it. He's intending to, on July 9th,
Okay.
submit to us a request to apply for NRI.
Okay.
Actually, there was a booklet just arrived from Estuary. I don't know if you were on that list or not. I'll give that to you, take a look at. It's got case studies, examples, and has Mylan and New Falls that have already completed their NRIs. So that is, that's something to expect to come. What else? Anything else?
Non-sewer.
Non-sewer, yeah. Anything else? Then caught your eye?
Oh, what's the WIFIA?
Yes, so that's one we're thinking about. Wanna talk about
That's
that?
a sewer.
Well, it says, okay, this says water infrastructure, so I wasn't sure if it
Okay,
was
so-
like the pipe that you're talking about for the water as well.
Well, there's two parts to that.
Okay,
And they're EPA administered, and one's a $274 million funded, which is, and these are all for small systems.
right.
That's just for wastewater. And then $325 million of this $6.5 billion is for small systems for water, like that would be for, not for sewer, but that would be for a water district.
So I was thinking about the water tank.
Well, we did apply last year and got turned down. It wasn't this grant though, was it? It was a state grant.
Was it WIA? Or was it WQuick? No, it was WIA.
It was WIA.
I think so.
So I was wondering if this one was one
Well,
in charge of the
you-
water tank.
I think you could, there's an EPA type.
I mean, I'm sure when you look on the website, it's going to be a lot more detail than what's here, but,
But I think you can only apply for one thing. So I don't think like you could apply for the for a piece of the 274 for your sewer and a piece of the 325 for the tank. I think it's either or. Now, EPA Region 2 has a technical assistance division that sort of should walk us through what that process is, and I think our engineering firm is engaging in conversations on it. It's free advice from them, but I think it's limited to one or the other.
Yeah, and I would say that for this year, Christine, we want to focus on getting in as many sewer grants as possible
To lower that cost.
to lower that cost, and then maybe next year we could go for the tank as we did in previous years, because we'd like to wake up at the end of this year and say, you know, here's how much we have, let's move forward. So, what do you think?
well, I guess we have to clarify whether we're going to apply for 2 pots of money or not, first of all.
Right.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Yeah, I know with the tank.
yeah, I mean, I just didn't get the impression from this very short description that it
We
was.
couldn't.
we could
Yeah,
apply
and
for the
just for
sewer project.
clarification, you know, there's a $6.5 billion number there.
Yeah,
The balance of that are for like large inner-city projects. So the 274 and the 3.25, those are set aside for small systems.
Right.
Most of the rest of that money.
it's new funding.
Yeah, most of the rest of the $6 billion is really, I think those are going, you know, City of Philadelphia, or, you know, they're places that have crumbling, huge sewer systems that have to be, you know, rebuilt.
Probably not going to go very far.
Looks like a big.
But
number.
anyway, I mean, that one looks like a good possibility.
It is.
What about, I wish this thing had paper first, but I just, it's a long, there's one affordable solar and storage pre-development.
Well, I looked at that, but
Right.
it's got a income thing.
Looking at, what
Well-
about for the Repco project?
Well, I wondered about that, but, you know, it's going to be in the village, So can we apply for it if it's gonna be a
Sure,
village
sure.
We own it.
project?
Yeah, but we own
Sure,
the
sure.
property, right?
Yeah, we can apply for it,
Yeah.
and not only that.
Eventually we won't.
Well, it's.
I mean, the key is that we
Yeah.
won't.
Yes, I think we can apply for it, and, which reminds me that there's now more pots for EV infrastructure, and the village didn't get their fast charger, so we're gonna be talking to them about whether or not they wanna apply.
Well, they're gonna need one
But-
too.
Yeah, but we've helped them with that as well, with EV chargers, even though it's
Yeah.
in the village, so,
Because they just got a Tesla police car.
they just ordered one now.
It's just been delivered,
Oh, it's delivered.
Yeah. so.
So they're
fast charge
gonna,
would be-
would be good
Charging
for
it
them.
down here.
What?
So they'll be charging
They'll be
it.
charging it down there.
Yeah. No, they have a
There's
charge-
lots of them right at Hannaford.
No, they put in
can
a level 2 on the side of the village hall, because that's where they all park.
We did that.
Oh, we did, it. You helped them for it, but still, it's a lot slower.
Yeah, well, they put in the application for the level 3.
They
Well,
did.
We did, but they were
They didn't,
denied.
they were denied. Why would they deny that?
I don't know. So, but I think they were encouraging people to resubmit, so that's what we're talking about that. I didn't mean to get onto EV.
Right.
I wanted to stay on to
What about-
short
what about
research.
Cookingham
Yeah, right.
West?
Sure,
That
you
is,
get,
yeah.
you get on EV.
But Cookingham West, if we put in.
He's brought up
we're gonna-
EVs.
We will own that. That's not property we're
Yes,
selling.
but then we have to develop it
Right.
for households low to moderate.
Oh, I see.
income, is what
I
it
see.
says.
Yeah.
So we couldn't necessarily open it up to
Fair-
anybody
fair
in
enough.
town.
No,
Or
it's
we
just-
have to have,
No, it would just be
Income.
for that. Yeah, it would just be for that, since we're doing shared geothermal for
Right.
that project.
but we don't know what size array we're gonna do yet either.
True, but I don't
I mean,
know
well,
I think we can
We can get
propose
more
it, we can
details
give
on it
them,
and
yeah,
see,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, this isn't gonna be enough to do the whole thing anyway.
And I hate to say, it's only $200,000, but it's only $200,000, so, and it's pre-development,
Yeah,
so.
it is. But how great would that be that we had, well, and I will point out storage also.
Yeah, but does the storage have to also be for the same project? So there's a lot of
Yeah,
details,
there's a
but we
lot of
can
questions.
find out more about it.
It's worth it.
Right. It's till the end of the year, so we got some time on that.
Okay. What else? So there's the charge already, that's the one for them to resubmit for the EVs. Oh, since you're making fun of me with EVs, you may have noticed that there was a study just released showing that the average price of an EV is now less than, purchase price, less than the cost of a fossil fuel vehicle, and that is before the incentives that are being provided. That is before the savings for maintenance, before the savings for the difference between gasoline and electric, and if you're plugging in at home, it's generally about 40% of the cost of gasoline to get you that same 100 miles. So if you're watching your budgets, you may want to consider an EV. All right, what else do we have? School bus incentive program, we were in discussions with the school, how we could help them. At our last meeting, we talked about, they received NYSERDA funding, so they can buy 2 buses. Could the town assist them in acquiring a 3rd bus? To remind you, we've got the clean, and I'll get back to this later on, Clean Energy Communities funding, because we submitted for all the points, so $100,000, actually that application goes in tomorrow. And then all the points have been uploaded for the $175,000 in addition to that. But it turns out we can't use any of those to help the school. The constraints on the program are that the town would have to own one of the buses or operate one of the buses. Now, unless, well,
Does it
yeah,
have to be a full-size bus, or could it be one of the?
I know, one of the EVs that we The vans, I mean, the vans that we got the
Something like-
grant for
something like-
6 years
I was gonna ask what
ago,
happened.
and we can't get a contractor to build them?
Does
Yeah.
Bluebird make those? We contract?
So could we be an operator? So would the town, like, for example, we have our seniors, right, and they go to some cultural, right, as part of their recreation for them. They go on cultural trips, museums, or they go to a musical theater somewhere, something. They do larger buses, they're not school buses, they do like
Yeah.
the coach buses, you know, where they get the bathroom and they get the, you know, all of the things they do,
I don't think we want to
obviously.
get into a school bus operator.
I don't
No, I don't think so either. Now,
No.
the school bus ownership
Mhm.
business, okay. Well, that was a very lengthy discussion, okay. Unfortunately, we can't help them because of the programmatic constraints with NYSERDA. Basically, NYSERDA says you can't use your CEC money if there's already NYSERDA money going towards something, so that's the problem there.
So what are we gonna use it for?
So our Cookingham community
So
solar,
we can bank it for that?
yes,
Okay.
so that will go towards that. Help reduce the cost of construction with that. All right, anything else do you see here? Broadband. We're almost all covered by broadband, and I see Archtop is getting ready to start doing construction pretty soon. They'll be back to us again.
They still haven't gotten approval from the state too.
Is that right?
That was my understanding as of 2 months ago, that they had not been approved. This, I mean, they have
I
to.
thought they had started in Rhinebeck, is that not the case?
Well, they can do it in town roads,
Yeah.
and county roads, the
Oh,
county
yeah,
approves
yeah,
it, but
yeah. Oh,
like.
you mean
Route
up
9
the
yeah,
highways?
Yeah, going up 9 or 9, I think they wanted 9G.
No, but they're just piggybacking on the poles, right?
Well, that's what
On the utility
they would
poles.
prefer, they would
They're
prefer
supposed
to go underground.
Underground, when they came, their presentation
Yeah,
was
that's what they
underground.
want, they want to go underground.
We all want a lot of things. What else?
I mean, I found this grant guide helpful. I wondered if we wanted to look at it every month or two, you know, because a lot of these aren't just the CFA deadlines. I think
Yeah.
it's helpful to kind of revisit it.
Yeah.
Do they issue a monthly?
I
Well, that one
think
said
we
May
could-
on it, but I
yeah.
mean, I wasn't sure whether
Yeah,
that was
this
a
is June.
quarterly.
I don't know, I think we get them pretty frequently.
Well, there's a trail grant, the Greenway grants and some
Yeah, the
trail
Greenway grants are like quarterly,
Yeah. And the trail committee's been looking at things, but on the Sawkill Trails, Winnicke has to apply for those anyway, so that's not us.
So years ago, we applied for a CMAC grant. That's near the end. CMAC is the acronym.
Congestion mitigation. Air quality.
Yes. Congestion mitigation, speaking of congestion pricing, congestion mitigation. So many years ago, I think I just started here, so about 8 years ago, we had a grant for 199 West to try to provide some connectivity to the Trail Boulevard, Linden Acres, and a multimodal, right? So we originally started with something which was really innovative and I thought great, which is to actually completely redesign 199 coming in from the western side with the multimodal in the middle. So you would have, you know, obviously the recent fencing and so on and so forth. A little tricky from a safety perspective to come in from trail, that kind of thing, but certainly would have more traffic calming impacts. We ultimately realized that there just wasn't enough on the shoulders there, too much slope, whatever. So on the northern side was a multimodal, and we submitted this application. I guess I'll have to resurrect it to show you all. But people continue to ask about it.
I
Like,
hear
isn't
that,
there a
yeah.
way, right? Isn't there a way? So I'm thinking it's rolling with CMAC. I'm thinking we should try again. I put in a call to DOT to see if that section's on their paving schedule, because you'd probably want to coincide
Should
with
be on
that.
the paving schedule.
Right, it's keeping the tire companies in business and suspensions. What do you think? Should we go for that again? Try to go for that again, Christine?
Well, it never hurts to ask.
Okay.
Talk to them about it.
Okay.
And that whole stretch would be in the town, right? That'd be prior to or before you get to the village boundary? Or do you
Well,
want to work with them?
yeah, I think we'd want to work with the village on that, because it'll be in front of, go Hardeman's to high school.
I imagine it would go right about to there, right? Like
High
that
school
intersection of
right
high
is
school
where
and.
the sidewalk picks up on the other side of
So
the.
this
I think that's where it
doesn't,
ends.
this doesn't say anything about how much, so is it?
Last time I looked, I thought CMAQ was something like 95.5. It was a really good,
Oh, okay, well,
or,
yeah.
I think it was pretty high. So can we maybe,
Would we be able to use sort of the proposed
Plan
plan
from
from that
before?
from before?
yeah, I'll try to resurrect it from the files and start
I'd be curious
that.
to see what, just sort
Yeah.
of the design, if there's anything that we might
Just
want to tweak or
refresh it.
anything,
Yeah.
but I think it.
Yeah, they were very complimentary. Interesting, the gentleman at DOT at the time now works for the engineer that is doing our Sawkill Bridge, our engineers that works on that we contracted with. So maybe he can provide
have a
us
little
with some
insight.
advice
Yeah.
on what would be a successful application, because I think we really do need to connect. I mean, one of the challenges with these neighborhoods, College Park is a really great example, we're close, but not quite there yet,
I wondered if we've studied is on the east side, on 199 contact.
Same thing.
Yeah, because it's such a
People-
short stretch.
People
With
are
east side.
calling and asking about that. I mean, most of that is the village
Yeah, most of
way,
it's
right?
village,
It's
but-
just, yeah. Well, when Anderson Commons gets put forward again, I think that's gonna have to be studied, because I think there's just gonna be too much traffic.
Isn't that technically in the town though? It's right across the,
Anderson Commons,
Yeah.
no, is
No.
actually, well, remember, that's the one where there's the
Yeah.
potential annexation for the 7 houses.
oh, it's right on the border.
51
Yeah,
units.
That's
Right now,
right.
the border goes
That's
through
right,
it.
it's on the border,
Yeah.
so I just thought part of it might have been in the town.
Yeah. But yeah, on the east side as well. But I think on the east side you can get in. It's not great, but you can take the dirt
can
path
take
that
the
gets
dirt
you
path,
through
yeah.
the, right?
Right, I mean, it's sort of informal, like.
Yeah. But the west side, you
No, there's
say
no
a
way.
prayer and you hope for the best. And make sure there's no glare. Okay. Any other grants that you come across? Let's really tackle. I think we need to dedicate most of our July meetings to the grants and CFAs. And see where we go.
Okay.
We are now at department, board, and committee reports. Grant cards, and thank you to the Hudson Valley Regional Council for putting together the newsletters that relates to grants. One of the things that is starting to come up is this discussion about whether or not we should hire a grant writer and share it with our villages, excuse me, maybe even other municipalities. Would that help us ensure that we get as many dollars as possible? I mean, we have tremendous success right now, but it's not easy to do it without staffing. Anyway.
Well, the other thing I've heard about from some municipalities is that they get the grants in the door, then they struggle with administration.
Yeah.
I know
Paperwork is
we're
hard.
doing okay with that, but some of these are complex
Mhm.
grants,
And anything about federal money.
Yeah, thank goodness for our engineers and our planner, and certainly for Ann Conway, our grants administrator. Okay, building and zoning.
This is always the big one, but I only read the first page. So, and this is for the month of June as of, I think, yesterday. So there's still a few days left, but they had issued 26 permits. They've been very busy, conducted 125 inspections. They issued 31 either certificates of occupancy or of completion. They received 1 complaint, and the revenue, the permitting revenue was $7,051.
So, and this is for the full month?
It
Or a
go-
partial month,
It's
or-
right up to,
Right up to
today's the
today.
20, I think it was
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay. So a little bit, I'm getting the sense a little slower, maybe?
The first thing I read.
It's a little slower only because, last month it was, I don't have it, but it was a huge number of permits and it was like $17,000. But,
Everybody jumping on it in
well,
the spring months.
that's
getting the
really what it
permits,
comes down
getting
to. And now they're
buildings.
doing the construction, so now you're seeing a big number on inspections. So, first, if you're putting in a foundation, first they have to look and make sure that you put in the footings right. And so there's a cycle, but it was really both April and May were really record numbers of permits and revenue. I think it was $31,000 in April. It was a lot.
Well, the growth was pretty astounding. We had the call earlier this week with the credit rating agency. From time to time, they take a look at our finances and the local economy, and they gauge whether or not they want to adjust your credit rating. And I think they were very favorably disposed to the level of activity that they're seeing here in Red Hook and the growth. And we spoke about the growth in the tax roll and the activity. I think they're familiar with our pro-housing designation. Taking a look at things like median income and so on and so forth. So it's not surprising that the numbers still remain strong, but I'll be interested to see how the latter part of the year comes out. The Federal Reserve needs to think about the fact that average people are the ones that need the mortgages, and those mortgage rates are too high for working families. Okay, that's building and zoning. Bill, you want to do police?
Oh, man, I'm on a roll here.
You're on a roll, so much work.
So this is for the full month of May. Red Hook Police Department is our contracted law enforcement agency. They were busy.
High number of arrests.
Yeah, it was a high number of arrests. I think one of those was a two-foot, I can't remember. It's arrest by person, so I think one arrest involved maybe two. But they did issue a lot of traffic tickets, and I will say that they have, I've noticed it, I haven't even spoken to Pat about it, but I've just seen that they have been very aggressively trying to keep the speeds down. We just also had a terrible tragedy and fatality, so they've been issuing many speeding tickets, and so that's a high number for us. And 131 incidents is also high. Those are the calls that go on. That's high. The only thing you need to sort of discount is the school, what do they call it? The school resource officer, which I count like 20. You could probably drop that by 20 because that is an accounting issue for the way every time they go to school, it's a click. So, but it's still, even with that, it's a high number of calls they went on, welfare checks and other things. And also the warmer weather, there's a lot more people traveling through town. There's just more going on where they're just busier. Any questions?
Well,
Great job,
that's not my well. My well is
Oh, you ready for the rec?
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
Look at the rec.
it's not so bad, it's not
No,
so
it's not
bad.
bad. But it's still single space.
Well, they're very busy in the rec department. You know, they have a lot of responsibilities. So as you might imagine, the mowing season has begun. So that's taking up a lot of time and will continue to take up a lot of time throughout the summer. The various sports leagues have started up and are busy, and some of them have even more players than in previous years. Still some repairs going to the restrooms inside and the outside of the building in Rec Park East. We had one of the storms that came through washed out a significant part of the walking track at Rec Park East. So they're working on repairs for that. Thank you to the Highway Department for bringing 2 loads of stone dust over on June 7th, so that could be spread out and begin the process of rebuilding that path. Summer programs almost ready to get going. We have, I believe, we're going to be fully staffed. John Kuhn had sent out over 20 job offer letters to most people coming back from last year. When he had put this report together, which was June 10th, we had only had the first day of sign-ups for the summer programs and already had 150 sign-ups. So I'm not sure how many more we got on the second day.
I'm told we may break a record, so consider that enrollment continues to drop within the school district. The camp is open to children in the school district. And yet the number of children coming to the camp keeps increasing. It's really a testimony to the wonderful job that the camp folks are doing, organizing, and of course, Christine, what are we extremely proud of with the camp is that it's pop quiz. It's free.
There's so many answers. Well, it is free. We added more hours.
We're the only municipality I know of, I know we're not the only one probably, but the only one I know of that offers that free.
And I can tell you that I was here the day, that sign-up day was that Saturday.
Yeah.
It was also coincided
Oh, right.
with our shred day. So I was here trying to direct traffic. And I can tell you, sign-up started at 9 and there were
It's
people,
just- well, there's
the
still.
line went like, they lined up outside, they went all the way down around starting at about 8:30. And they were really busy because people want to get their slot. I mean, it's a great service and it's very popular.
Right.
Yeah.
Still working on the possibility of developing a disc golf course at Rec Park West, so that's underway. And some of the same issues before, and then we've had some, those spring rider things, the things that have the big round spring underneath them that you kind of like rock on. One of those was broken. So that's been taken down. And there was a seesaw that also had to be repaired. We put a new sliding gate at the north entrance of Rec Park East, and so that was reinforced. Surprisingly light and bendy, so the rec crew got to work reinforcing it so it would be more sturdy and easier to open and close. So that's generally it. How's that?
Pretty good, Christine.
All right.
Motion to approve Christine taking only that amount of time in future meetings. Jacob?
We should be so happy that we have so much to report from our
It
rec
is so true,
department.
it is so true. Water everywhere, this time we're talking about the water that we want to have.
We deliver.
We deliver, yes, we
So
deliver.
this is one of the few monthly meetings I was unable to attend, but
Okay.
I did review the minutes, and they're consistent with just about every other one I have attended, in terms of the wonderful quality of our water, how efficient our wells are, how robust they are, and, they've actually turned down the pumping. They don't, our water resources so robust that
it's saving electricity and energy to not have to, but they pump as much as they had in the past. They've reduced the, but they pump, about 100 gallons per minute. All the testing is good, we're on schedule, I know from the last
Right.
meeting. Our
So-
water is always good.
Everybody's talking about PFAS and
We've
PFOA.
never had any.
we've never had any
Never had
in
any.
ours,
No.
right?
How long have we been checking for it?
State's been mandating this since Hoosick Falls, so that's how far back.
Okay.
It's not that many.
Well, no, it's, I was gonna say 8 or 9,
Jeez.
yeah.
Where does it go?
And then they've added things, so, some of these other things were added, but when they first started the PFOA and PFOS, it was a quarterly test, which is expensive.
Right.
And we went so many years of having clean and none. I think it was last year or the year before we went to it, they granted us a dispensation to do it once a year. The water's is quite good, but we need the sewer to make sure we keep it that way. The other issues are miscellaneous, like the tank. And they've had an issue over on Linden Avenue with dirty water, the way the lines operate when you come to a dead end
Stubs.
on a service.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that one, they're actually going to install, they call it a hydrant, but it's not, it doesn't look like a fire hydrant, but it's smaller and it's basically a release valve, and they can go in and pump that
Flush it out.
to flush it out. So they're going to have to install one there at the end of that line that's on Linden. And they do the, all the fire hydrants are flushed on an annual basis, they just did that. So, that was really about it, and there was the issue on the grants, if you read the last item, I said, well, you should take a look at, if there's supplies, we need, the filters, we think of these filters as being these little, filters.
Right.
These things are like 3 feet in diameter, they're huge and they're expensive, they're, $500-$600, and they replace them every 6 months, so, it's something to consider. We have a limited amount of storage space, but I said, figure out how much you can get and store and how long they last,
Right.
as long as there's no sort of degradation from sitting.
Now, the water district did just do a mailing, right, related to the lead service line inventory and all of that?
The mailing didn't go out yet, it's going out with the bills for this
Okay.
quarter.
Okay.
So.
Do you want to let the folks
Sure.
at home know if they're in the water district, what they're getting and why they're getting it?
So, the EPA has mandated, this is coming from the federal government and it flows through the state, it's abating all
This is
lead.
one of those funds, right, it flows through.
Yeah, it flows through,
You're
that's right.
really,
Yeah.
you're not
It's on fire.
Mhm.
It's just the back of my brain.
Mhm.
So anyway, they've mandated that, communities that provide water do a lead abatement to make sure that all service lines, that's what the community's water comes to, not what's in your house, but what when it comes from the line to your house, has to not be lead. And there were periods of time, a long time ago, when pipes were lead, and then they switched to it's called transite, it's a galvanized steel, which is kind of problematic, and you want to have copper. And so, to our knowledge, we have no lead pipes.
Right.
But we have to do a census of everybody who's in the district. There's 498 users, homes. And so we're sending out, with the quarterly bill, a little mailer to explain that we would like their participation and assistance to look at where the water line comes into their house and scratch the metal and see and take a picture and send it to us so that we can confirm that it's either copper or it's plastic. We do not believe there are any lead lines left. We can't account for, and we are not responsible for lead in pipes in a home. We would hope that homeowners, would do their own inspection on that. But we are responsible to make sure that there's no lead lines leading to a home, and so that we're not providing tainted water. We do test our water, obviously, every month, and we've never had lead come. The other issue is that we do know construction standards for periods of time. At a certain point in time, we know that it was never used. And so we know how many houses signed up and when they signed up. And so what we're trying to do, there's a period of time, I think it's between 82 and 86. It's just that short window. Those are the ones we're most concerned about because it was sort of a transition in construction standards and requirements. But we're going to do our best to try to do outreach to all our users. And then we are required to report back, I guess it's to the state, and then it goes back to the EPA. I think it's by October of this year.
I would just say I'm in the Village Water District, and so we got that mailing. I did the test. I mean, my house is newer, but I did the test. It's very quick and straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, you just take the picture, send it back.
I think there was some concern about maybe some of people that are a little more technologically challenged or don't have a phone with a camera. And I think what we ask in I saw the draft letter, says, if you're unable to do this, please ask a friend, family member, or neighbor, or call us, and, but we don't want to have to go to every home and do this.
But our meter reader could do it in theory if we had a list.
Yeah, except the meters are all outside.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but if there were 10 people who
Oh,
could do
yeah.
it for something.
Oh, yeah, we
Okay.
could, and we would, of course. I think we want to get as much of it done as we can. And actually, of the 498, we do know how many were built after 86, and so it's really, I think it's 120 less than that. So it's a smaller number than what it looks like.
All right, well, speaking of water testing, so we had our pilot project from the Saco watershed did free testing for homeowners who wanted their water tested. And so I'm told that will happen again. We'll do round 2 shortly. So stay tuned. We'll send out a notice through our notification process when we have some little jars for you to fill up. And I think it was pretty quick. It was a couple weeks, right? Got your results back. I did it. I was dying to know.
I wasn't offered the opportunity.
Everybody was offered
They were available
Nice
here.
try.
Although
Nice
I did.
try,
You need to sign up for
I
Notify
have-
Me. Have you heard about Notify?
I am notified, maybe
Okay.
just not that one.
So-
You say you just didn't come to.
So for the folks at home, if you want to get your water tested, it doesn't test for everything.
That's the thing, I did
But-
my own for our.
But if you
There was a-
if you do want to get it tested, well, they might expand what they're testing for.
Well,
This is all part of the great work that they're doing. Anyway, so stay tuned. Hopefully in the next couple of months we'll have that. All right, we digress. There's too much on water. I know water is important.
It's kind of really important.
It's the theme of the year.
It's the thing. Okay, Ag and Open Space Committee meeting notes. Would you please?
Yeah, okay, so these are the draft meeting notes from the May 16th meeting.
Yeah.
And so the committee touched on a number of issues with all the talk coming up about the comprehensive plan update. So they began looking at the current plan and what's concerns agriculture and have some initial comments and some ideas about that. But they did make some really good points, which I thought should be mentioned, which is, when we did this plan, we adopted this plan, there was a lot of outreach about what is called agricultural literacy and the fact that we have right to farm laws and all of that, and that a lot of that has been lost over time. And so they believe that that should be addressed and brought back, and we should consider putting like right to farm law signs up at the entrance to the town. Yeah. And then they have some other ideas about, looking for how do subdivisions happen for farms? Does there need to be something separate for just farms? That there's a process that might be quicker or more streamlined. Adaptive reuse of buildings again. Different types of retail. And there was discussion that, tourism is becoming a bigger and bigger thing all the time. Farms do play a role in that tourism, but, where are these people going to stay when they come here? And, asking the town to encourage what they call an appropriate level of tourism. And the committee would like to have representation on the comp plan committee when it's formed, and, be informed about the process, which we would be putting out information
Of course.
anyway, so that's that.
Great.
How often do they meet?
Skip the tree.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's, as needed. kind of thing.
Okay,
It
because this is
should
the
be
first
monthly.
minutes I've seen in a long
In a long
time.
time, I know they're not great about it in the minutes. Julia, we could probably get started pretty soon, right? Trying to look for consultants and come up with a structure, maybe a proposal on the structure. I think pretty soon, maybe the next couple of months, we'll get the
So I'm thinking
contract.
after we get the CFA behind us, we'll
Yeah.
regroup and
Great.
focus on components.
All good, thank you. All right, just a couple of, sorry.
We skipped the tree preservation commission.
Oh,
Just right before that, I can just do, it's only three notes from last week's meeting. Just a couple of, sort of sad news pieces. Several of the oaks on Pitcher Lane have been defoliated by the spongy moth, which is not great for the tree. So members of the commission talked about using a non-chemical spray next spring if this looks to be happening again. Number two, 3 of the trees in Rec Park West are dead, 3 different kinds of trees. So that's unfortunate. But plans for landscaping the area next to the new access trail, the Rec Park West, are being developed, and they're going to be working with John to work out the details.
Great. Do we have any thoughts on why, on the trees?
I wasn't able to make the meeting, so I don't know if it's
Okay.
something specific to,
Okay.
the area, or if it's just sort of
Soils.
like natural, like a few trees aren't going to make it.
These are the ones we planted
These are
last year,
newer, I
right?
think, yeah.
Last year.
Oh, these are the ones we planted that died.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're not reporting on all the dead trees.
I was, I know, I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
although, a lot
Can you
of the-
imagine if Christine came and reported on all the dead trees in town?
Yeah, right.
But then we have some important large
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah, so the ones at Rec Park West are relatively new because the
They're all-
plantings
they're
there
all,
have been
yeah.
over the past, couple of years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot, I wonder, just the soil characteristics there. Trying to think where those trees were planted. But let's recall that there was all that precipitation over the course of the 6 months there, winter.
Got root
yeah.
rot.
Sort of like down the hill.
Yeah. Plus, I'm sure, the deer probably have a really good habitat there also. Do we wrap these little ones? Do we know when we?
I don't know. I know that the last meeting is that they were talking about what the village has been doing, which is sort of like it looks like a PVC sort of thing that goes
Yeah.
around the trees. At the
They do that
base.
in orchards back in
And
the
then
day.
they remove them
Mhm.
later. I don't think we'll be doing something like that, but I think typically there's been fencing and sort of temporary things like that until the trees get a little bit more established. But I don't know specifically for these ones what was done.
Okay. Okay, we just had a couple of budget adjustments, and moving it to the capital account, stuff related to the conservation land.
Do we have to take an action on this?
Yeah, if you could approve those, that'd be great. It's just a classification issue, should also move to the H accounts where the capital, where the projects are. Those run on the expense side. So is there a motion to accept on that?
To approve the budget adjustments as
Yeah,
proposed.
As proposed, yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Christine.
I'll
All in
second.
favor? Thank you, Julia. All in favor of Jacob Bell?
Aye.
Myself, thank you. We have some correspondence. Ag District, interestingly enough, each year they review properties to be included in the Ag District, different than our Ag Business District, which is a zoning district. There are no parcels that are to be included from Rentoc. That's probably because we have so many already. But it is good to see, folks around other parts of the county being included, and seeing, perhaps more of these parcels returning to agriculture. That's always a healthy sign for the industry. We have a request from the planning board. They would like us to entertain a motion to increase the fee associated with the review of the certificate of appropriateness. They have seen the amount of time that our staff has to spend on those applications. As you know, we charge fees in such a way that they're commensurate with the costs of staffing and other associated expenses with review of these projects. They would like to request that we increase the fee from $50 to $100.
And they did point out that the cost of posting the hearing notices that are required has gone up quite a bit
Yes.
too.
Yes.
So
True-
moved.
True that. Christine has moved. I recommend for everybody that we follow that move. Is there a second?
Sounds like you wanted to make it.
Oh, I just did. Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that's a motion to increase the fee. We're back to uniforms. Discussion of the uniforms, we haven't yet. This would be a matter for negotiation, by the way, under the contract, not because we want to necessarily negotiate everything, but that's required. Jacob, at last we left, if I recall, we were going to ask them, because they had previously asked if we could just buy uniforms and have the employees, that was their preferred, get them embroidered and all of that. Did you get a chance to run that by?
Wasn't really a chance to make it.
Okay, okay. And I know she's not,
Is that 10?
I think
The
so.
way,
Anyway, so, all right,
And
so
we also
let's,
talked about getting additional quotes, right, if we want to go.
we would need
Yeah,
quotes, and I
yeah,
think.
well, by state, by
did we-
contracting law,
I think
we
we
have to.
told her that, yeah, I think we told her we would have to have 3 quotes on that.
Right, because it is the one we have. I mean, maybe, that may be what the other quotes come in too, but this is tripling, more than tripling
Yes.
our current costs.
Yeah,
What
no,
did you
no,
want to do
as
with
far
that?
as seats.
There are
so-
pictures of,
That was in the correspondence that you wanted to mention, or no?
and it looks like,
Sort of touch on that.
This one
yeah,
was
I did
correspondence.
touch on it, yeah.
it looks like we have an additional sort of list of expenditures for 2023. And it looks like we're about $1,000 more than what Teresa was saying in terms
For
of.
the
what-
uniforms?
Yeah, for the uniforms. So the increase would be smaller because we're already spending a little bit more. It's still a large increase, but just one thing to sort of note that, we're already spending a third more.
Right. Well, I'd just like to hear from them which they prefer.
Yeah.
Would they prefer to stick with,
Yep.
get their own uniforms, let them be responsible for the, cleaning and maintenance, just because they're tired of waiting for them to come back.
And I kind of wonder if Synthesis would take care of that, then maybe that eliminates the concern about that. Maybe it's that the previous, supplier wasn't doing a good enough job, but if they're going to take care of it in a timely manner, then it won't be their wishes anymore if it just gets taken care of.
All right, so July 9th for that.
Yeah, I'll follow up with her.
Okay.
A lot of stuff on the docket. July 9th is sounding like it has a lot of things on the agenda.
Well, great. We did pretty well today. It's 9 o'clock.
No, there's still one thing, piece of correspondence.
No, we covered that
Oh, you
earlier
covered
on the
that?
speed limits thing. So, folks, at this time, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoy your Independence Day holiday as well, and get some time with your friends and family. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion. We go into attorney-client session. Julia?
I'll move.
We'll move. Yeah. Jacob?
Aye.
Aye. Christine? Very Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.